On May 21, 2025, the National Football League lost one of its most iconic and influential figures. Jim Irsay, the longtime owner and CEO of the Indianapolis Colts, passed away peacefully at the age of 65. To many, he was a football executive. To others, a philanthropist, a collector, a father, a survivor. But to all who truly knew of his journey, he was a man who changed not only the fate of a franchise, but also helped reshape the culture of the league while fighting his own battles with honesty and compassion. This is the story of Jim Irsay, his legacy, his struggles, and the indelible mark he leaves on football and beyond. Jim Irsay was born on June 13, 1959, in Lincolnwood, Illinois, into a family already climbing the heights of American wealth and influence. His father, Robert Irsay, was a self-made millionaire in the heating and air conditioning business. In 1972, Robert made a bold and controversial move that would forever alter the course of NFL history. He orchestrated the purchase of the Los Angeles Rams, then swapped ownership with the Baltimore Colts. Jim was just 13 at the time. From that moment on, he was immersed in football culture, often attending games, mingling with players and coaches, and learning about the business side of the league. He attended Southern Methodist University, where he studied broadcast journalism and played football as a walk-on linebacker. Though his career on the field was short-lived, his passion for the sport never wavered. In 1982, Jim officially joined the Colts front office. He took on various administrative roles and climbed the ranks through experience rather than entitlement. Just 2 years later, in one of the most dramatic chapters in NFL history, his father moved the Colts from Baltimore to Indianapolis under cover of night, in March 1980 for a decision that still sparks debate today. Jim stood by his father through the media firestorm, already showing loyalty and the resilience that would define his leadership. After more than a decade in the front office and learning under his father's guidance, Jim Irsay's role expanded significantly in the mid-1990s, when Robert Irsay suffered a debilitating stroke in 1995 and passed away 2 years later. Jim inherited full control of the franchise. At the age of 37, he became the youngest owner in NFL history at that time. Taking over wasn't merely about carrying on a family business, it was about revitalizing a struggling franchise. The Colts, in the late 90s, were inconsistent at best. Irsay had the daunting task of reshaping the team from top to bottom. Unlike many owners, Irsay was deeply involved in football operations, but never micromanaging. He valued input from his football staff and trusted his instincts when it came to identifying leadership. That faith would pay off in 1998, when the Colts, holding the #1 overall pick, chose a quarterback from the University of Tennessee named Peyton Manning. It was a decision that would alter the future of the franchise forever. The drafting of Peyton Manning marked the beginning of a golden age for the Colts. Under Jim Irsay's ownership, and with the brilliant quarterback at the helm, the Colts went from a middling franchise to one of the most consistent and successful teams in the league throughout the 2000s. Irsay surrounded Manning with talent: Marvin Harrison, Edgerrin James, Reggie Wayne, Dwight Freeney, Robert Mathis, and provided stability at head coach with the hiring of Tony Dungy in 2002. That pairing, Manning and Dungy, produced a decade of excellence, culminating in the 2006 season when the Colts captured their first Super Bowl title in Indianapolis by defeating the Chicago Bears in Super Bowl XLI. It was a historic moment. Dungy became the first African-American head coach to win a Super Bowl. Manning cemented his legacy, and Jim Irsay's vision for the team had come to life. But what set Irsay apart during this time wasn't just the championship. It was his personal connection to the players, his unwavering support for the city of Indianapolis, and his transparency with fans. He celebrated publicly and grieved publicly. He was not a distant billionaire behind a curtain. He was present, passionate, and unapologetically human. After years of success, the team faced its toughest moment in 2011. Peyton Manning, after undergoing multiple neck surgeries, was ruled out for the entire season. The Colts finished with a 2-14 record. It was clear that the Manning era was over, not just due to age or health, but because of the team's position to draft a new quarterback. In one of the most emotional moves in franchise history, Jim Irsay made the call to release Manning in March 2012. At the time, it was unthinkable. Manning had become synonymous with the Colts. But Irsay, with tears in his eyes, during the press conference, spoke of it as a mutual, necessary decision. He praised Manning's legacy and assured fans that the door would always remain open for his return to Indianapolis. That same spring, the Colts drafted Andrew Luck. The transition from one generational quarterback to another seemed seamless. Luck led the Colts to 3 straight playoff appearances and an AFC championship game. But injuries plagued Luck's career, and in 2019, he announced his shocking retirement at just 29 years old. Once again, Irsay found himself leading the franchise through another transition. While others might have crumbled, Irsay remained steady, showing support for Luck's decision, and doubling down on rebuilding the team from the ground up. Jim Irsay's life wasn't defined only by football. He was a man of immense wealth, but also of immense emotional depth, and a man who carried the weight of personal struggles publicly. For years, Irsay battled substance abuse issues. He entered rehabilitation facilities, dealt with legal consequences, and was suspended by the NFL in 2014 for violating the league's personal conduct policy. But rather than retreat into silence, Irsay spoke openly about his battles. He became one of the first NFL owners to publicly discuss mental health and addiction without shame. In 2020, he and his family launched the Kicking the Stigma initiative, which became one of the league's most significant mental health awareness campaigns. The program provided millions in grants and raised awareness nationwide, funding treatment programs and reducing stigma around mental illness. Irsay also channeled his passions into culture and history. He assembled one of the most valuable private collections of music and pop culture artifacts in the world, including guitars owned by Prince, Elvis Presley, and Jerry Garcia, as well as original manuscripts from historical icons like Jack Kerouac and Abraham Lincoln. He often took the collection on public tours free of charge, believing that history and beauty were meant to be shared, not hidden behind museum walls. Jim Irsay passed away on May 21, 2025. The cause was not immediately disclosed, but his death was confirmed by the Colts organization and his family. The tributes that followed were swift and heartfelt. Peyton Manning called him a mentor and lifelong friend. NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell praised him for his passion, candor, and generosity. Fans gathered at Lucas Oil Stadium, leaving flowers and handwritten notes at the entrance. The city of Indianapolis declared a week of remembrance. Jim is survived by his three daughters Carly Irsay Gordon, Casey Foyt, and Kaylin Jackson. All three have played active roles within the Colts organization for years, and it is expected that Carly, the team's vice chair, will step into his role. The Colts remain in family hands, with a new generation ready to carry on Jim's vision. What Jim Irsay leaves behind is more than a football team. He leaves behind a culture, a belief in second chances, in vulnerability, in creativity, and in love for community. He was flawed, like any of us. But he was also fiercely human, fiercely present, and fiercely dedicated. Jim Irsay was not just an NFL owner. He was a man who evolved in public, fell and got back up, and turned personal battles into national conversations. He built a champion, yes, but more importantly, he built bridges. Between fans and players. Between wealth and access. Between pain and healing. And though he is no longer with us, his legacy is etched in every Colts jersey, in every guitar string, in every life touched by his philanthropy. Rest in peace, Jim Irsay. You changed the game, and in doing so, you changed countless lives.